Hello everyone, this is NiiNiiFC, this is Blue Lines TV, and today I'm bringing you a match review for our defeating the Community Shield to Arsenal. Yes, who would have thought? 3 times in a row against Arsenal at Wembley, and we've lost and haven't got results against them. And this was really frustrating. I mean, really, honestly, the day I've been having today has been so frustrating. It's just been a stressful week. The editor spontaneously left for no reason, didn't even give an answer why. Stresses with my partner. He's not really been too much of a team player recently. I'm doing the match vlog, and even though the camera's in full capacity, full battery, it just runs out of power so quickly in like 20 minutes. So I couldn't even do that today, and just other stresses happening in my life. So I was in the best mood today with this game, but but yeah, just forgetting about all that stuff. Ignore what I just said there. You guys, I'm going to be talking about our match review against Arsenal today, and to kick things off with obviously the player-by-player review. Now, starting off with Courtois. Courtois was decent today. He was very decent today. Made a spectacular save against Xhaka in the game. Again, with these match reviews, really speaking about the keeper, there's really not much to say about Courtois, so just moving on to the defence. Now, I'm going to start off with David Luiz. David fucking Luiz. This guy, he's world class. When people still doubt him, actually, it pains me. It pains me in my heart. I really don't understand what they're seeing or what they don't rate about him. But, whatever misconceptions you have about David Luiz, it needs to die, because he hasn't been that player for how many years now. That unbelievable moment of just, composure earlier on too. You guys know what moment I'm talking about, where he played that, like composed pass back to the goalkeeper and he like flicked the ball in the air. It was just sums up the player, sums up what he is. And big games, David Luiz always steps up in the big games. And this was another example today. That composure in the back, defended diligently, followed his mark as well, won every tackle he had to. Led the defense. Was making passes to making the passes in behind with Fabregas. I mean, another great performance, and he's been very good, especially during pre-season too. Another standout game he had earlier was against Inter Milan. This guy is the best defender in the league, and I hope this is the season people start realizing this and start giving him the credit he deserves, because no one does it better like David Luiz in the Premier League. Moving on to Cahill, and Cahill was very good today. Here's the thing. Anytime I criticize Cahill, it's not because I hate the guy or he's a bad player. He's a good player, but when it comes to his technical abilities, and of course playing in a back three, you notice his technical abilities more. They have to be good, and that's something he struggles at. But when it comes to the art of defending, in terms of last-ditch tackles, positioning, Cahill does it. I think Cahill is probably one of the best defenders I've seen in Europe. He's amazing at making those tackles in his books. When do you ever see Cahill give away a penalty or give away a foul, really? It just doesn't happen, because he's very well timed when it comes to defending. It's just a shame that he's got a lot of other weaknesses in his other games, when it comes to one-on-one defending and things like that. But in this game today, he dealt with everything, and he was making fantastic interceptions, last-ditch tackles and everything. And I was very impressed with his performance today. Aspie, it's been kind of weird for me in a way. His pre-season hasn't been too great. He's been making a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes, and he's just not looking as sturdy as he used to be last season. Maybe, he played nearly every single game. I think he was the only player to play every single minute, every single game last season. So I really think that, he needs to get his fitness back. That's going to come. But at this moment in time in defence, he's not looking his usual self. But to be fair, I was noticing small things like this during the end of the season last year. What Aspie is fantastic at, and the credit he was getting, is when he basically pushes out wide to help defend with Victor Moses, because in a way he's effectively playing as a fullback when he pushes out wide. But it's defending in those central areas where he just doesn't, he's looking shaky. He's not winning his tackles in the air. He's not as dominant. His positioning too is what I'm noticing. He seems to be recently caught in two minds a few times. And Rudiger, I was assuming he's going to be playing on the left, replacing Cahill, but as we've seen with Conte, he has been moving Rudiger to the right, and Aspie's been playing as a wing back. So maybe Conte could be experimenting with seeing Aspie as a wing back this season and having Rudiger fill there, because I think that would make more sense. But I'll get on to, I mean, actually, I'll get on to Rudiger now, and he was looking kind of shaky. I'm not going to lie. A lot of you know my thoughts on Rudiger already. He's a good player. Is he an upgrade to anyone we have now? No, he's not really. Do I think we should have signed him for 35 million and sent him on loan? No, I really don't think so. Because, you know, with Rudiger, even though he's good, he can pass out from the back goods. I'm not going to say world class, but goods. You know, it's these defensive lapses. You know, he's one of these defenders. Maybe, you know, maybe I don't appreciate those style defenders where they rely on their physical abilities more than their mental abilities. You know what I mean? And I think defending is like, you know, 75% mental and then 25% physical. You know, because it's about being in those blocking those danger positions already without having to run there. And he's just one of those defenders that does that. Of course, a lot of you might be thinking, oh, Nini, what are you talking about? Give him a chance. But again, anytime I talk about a player, it's because I've watched him before. It's not because I only watched him in that Germany game in the Confederations Cup and I'm making an opinion on that. No, I've seen him play at Roma too. So that's like, you know, some observations I've made on the player. And, you know, there's a few tiny lapses. Hopefully they can get ironed out. And maybe, you know, of course, he's just starting. It's understandable he'll be a bit shaky. Now, moving on to the wing-backs. Now, this was really annoying. You know, during the first 10-20 minutes, Arsenal were putting the pressure on us, and it was very frustrating. But what did I say to you guys in the match preview a few days ago? Arsenal are a team that can't sustain their press. And that definitely happened during the end of the first half. And we were starting to regain possession and play out a bit and peg them back and force them back. But one issue we're having is how easy it is for teams to get down the flanks. I mean, it was happening more on the left-hand side than the right. And I'm not going to lie, Moses was very shaky in the first 10 minutes. And what I mean by shaky, well, it was his positioning. You know, he was caught infield too much. And he was always, you know, making last-man runs to try and block Oxlade-Chamberlain. And of course, because we were offering too much space on the flanks, you know, Arsenal were pushing more men forward and, you know, trying to double-team the wing-back. But credit to Moses, after that period, he really grew into the game. I'm sorry. I know people might be criticising Nini. Of course, he got a bias. No, the guy grew into the game a lot and his defending got much better and he was really immaculate near the end of the game. And it's good that he got the goal. You know, it's kind of like, it's so funny. His last game was at Wembley and, you know, he did that ridiculous dive and, you know how football works. But I was very impressed, especially some of his defending. Very composed. What I love about him is how he helps play out from the back. He just doesn't lose the ball. How often do you see a goal kick played to Alonso who will just clear it with his right foot without even looking? How many times was it happening in this game today? He was clearing it with his right foot, not even aiming for someone. And then Arsenal was starting counter-attacks. But again, Alonso wasn't bad. He gave it another decent performance as well. If anything, I think it's the tactical system because here's the thing. I keep saying this all the time. The front three, Michy, Batshuayi, I'm sorry. The guy just isn't good enough. It's not his fault. As I keep saying, Michy is a striker that plays on the last line of defence. He's a penalty box striker. He's a fantastic finisher. But when it comes to the other parts of this game, it will definitely get better. But we have to see that in another 2-3 seasons, what he can do. But at this moment in time, he just isn't good enough. Too often he's losing the ball sloppily, easily, and it's breaking down too many moves. And again, Willian was very poor in this game today. I was very disappointed. Another player, Conte, losing the ball. But if anything, I thought Conte made it more difficult for Willian because I was really expecting Willian to be playing on the left and having Pedro on the right. I don't understand why Pedro was on the left and Willian on the right. Willian gets wasted on the right. He's very unfortunate that we've never been able to see him at his full potential. With quite a lot of players that have played for Chelsea, to be fair. But the guy is much better cutting inside on his right foot and taking shots. Could have made a difference. Playing that support role on the right, you just can't do it. It's still alien to him. It's not as good. He only got credit on Mourinho days because he used to track back. And that's all people cared about because they think tracking back such a, you know, shows you that you're a brilliant player when, you know, anyone can track back. But again, very poor. And he keeps losing the ball. And I keep noticing this is something that keeps happening. He gets a bit of pressure and he keeps losing the ball. And when you have two players out of your front three giving the ball away, no wonder Arsenal are getting sloppy possession back easily and starting counter-attacks. Every single time Arsenal countered was because someone up front lost the ball. And 9 times out of 10 it was Michy. And it is really frustrating. I really like the guy. He's got a very good finisher too, but his overall play just isn't good. in the year, you think he'd be better. He's not. His leap isn't there. His anticipation isn't there. And his not technical ability, but when it comes to the reading of the game, it's just not there yet in terms of building play up. And of course, I'm gonna get into this later on, but again, Mitchie looks like he's gonna be second choice again, and at the same time, it's really baffling because we had players like Bertrand Traore, Solanke, Abrahams, who would have done a much better job than what he's doing because they're all very adept at linking up the play. Because at Chelsea, that's what they teach you to do. The strikers don't just play up front, they play on the right, they play behind, play on the left. They're very comfortable in possession, and that's why they always look really good. And we signed a guy for 35 million who still can't do that at a high enough level, and I just kind of think it's a bit of a waste, really, especially when we block the progress of much better younger players who could have done with that game time Mitchie's had. I don't know, but again, very disappointing. He's really disappointed me. It is a shame because, of course, the only way he's going to get better if he consistently plays games. But then that should have happened last year. He's basically hasn't improved as a player, and it's just like starting from the same post again. And it's annoying. It can't continue. Moving on to the midfield, which I nearly forgot about. Conte and Fabregas. You know what? They don't do anything wrong. They honestly don't. The reason why they look exposed, and I'm going to explain it one more time. When a member of the front three, the way we play is playing the quick balls to the front three. They have to hold possession. Why? When they keep the ball, the wing backs get forward. The minute the wing backs see the strikers have the ball, that's their cue to run. If a member of the front three loses the ball, then a wing back, one of the wing backs is going to be caught out of possession and sorry you guys, I had too many beers, but one of the wing backs will be caught out of position, meaning that either Fabregas or Conte are going to have to cover the space left and behind, meaning that one of the midfielders is going to be exposed by themselves. And that's why when teams counter in numbers, it looks like our midfield are out of position and not doing their job. But again, it's impossible to stop 3-4 players running at you. You know what I mean? And this is the thing. But when they're on the ball, they're good. Kante, he wins the ball. Fabregas is playing a lot of passes. Again, they weren't all coming through. They weren't all coming off. But at the same time, who did he have up front really to work with? Willian and Mitchie had awful games today. And they weren't winning anything. And their movement wasn't even great. And they weren't losing their markers quick enough. So there was only so much that Fabregas could have done. But again, in terms of their performances, I don't really think any of them did anything wrong, in my opinion. Of course, speaking about Pedro, yeah, he was decent. And you guys, you're going to really have to tell me what the hell happened with that red card incident. Because where I was in the stadium, I had like an amazing view. I just didn't understand what's happened. I've had no time to check social media to find out if it was a red card or not. But it seemed really crazy. But even then, the referee was very poor in this game today. How the hell can you give Willian... How can you call it a dive? From the position he's at, he's miles away. How many yards did he have to run up just to give Willian that yellow card? There's no way in hell he could have seen that. And it was a penalty. And it's just like, again, poor officiating. I hope it's not going to summarise our season for next year. I really pray it doesn't. But, very frustrating. But still, I've gone through the player review. Now, the manager review and Antonio Conte. Another final that he's lost in, and another performance where against the big teams we're not playing as well. Of course, you can say, actually before I even talk about the negatives, I have to obviously set the levels. Of course, Bakayoko, Morata, Rudiger aren't fully fit, so we're not going to see the improvements in the team, because I think especially with a Rudiger in the back line, because he's actually comfortable defending out wide, that alone is going to make a difference in terms of, hopefully stopping Conte defending with a 5 at the back. Because I think this is the reason why we keep conceding goals. If you guys remember before, when we were on our 13-game unbeaten run, Conte didn't have Pedro or Hazard dropping deep to help the wing-backs. It would just be Aspie doing that. And that was at the time when people were noticing how good Aspie was. Because, this is a position very comfortable for Aspie to defend in. For some reason, as the season went on, Conte got more pragmatic and decided, actually, I feel much more comfortable if I keep a straight back 5 and have the wingers come back. But the problem is when we do that, there's too many low blocks we can't play out, because then we have to pump a ball to one guy up front who's a striker, who most times don't even keep the ball anyway. So then this is why we're so susceptible to be to be, to become pressed in our own half and struggle to play out. And it's all because of the defensive system we have. And I don't understand why Conte is so comfortable with it, because we don't even keep clean sheets. Before, during that 13-game unbeaten run, how many clean sheets did we keep? Teams aren't getting through us at all. It makes no sense, and it's not helping the team. Especially Aspie too. I think it's better just having them press out with the wing backs and not allowing teams to come onto us too much, because now teams feel more confident doing that, knowing that we struggle to play out. I was seeing this today. I don't know. It's really annoying, but still, Conte, it's the approach. I don't understand this insistence all the time of always playing it up to the front three. If you see that Willian and Mitchie aren't doing their jobs, they're not keeping the ball, they're not bringing people in, they're losing it all the time, either make a substitution to replace them early, or tell the team to attack down the flanks. It's not hard. And why do I say that? Because when we lost 3-0 to Arsenal last season, he changed everything during the first half. I think that's the only time he's ever made any kind of change in a game like that, ever. He did that in for the start of the second half, and we look much better. So Conte can do it. I just don't know in his insistence on pursuing this type of football, because I don't think it's that beneficial. Now, here's the thing. The reason why I say this is that, hypothetically, if Alexandro comes, he's going to be a massive upgrade to their team. But at the same time, playing this type of football we're playing, is that going to get the best out of Alexandro necessarily? You know what I mean? Us dropping deep and soaking up pressure and never pressing high and trying to win the ball in the opponent's half, is that really the most effective way for some of the, to play with some of the players we have in this team? I'm not too sure, in my opinion, and I think it's kind of a bottleneck in a way, because we've got a lot of fantastic quality in the squad, but I don't know if the system is correct in bringing the best out of them. And the system doesn't mean, it's 3-4-3. It's nothing to do with 3-4-3. For example, you can play any formation differently, like 4-4-2. You can play that offensively. You can play that as a counter-attacking system. Very defensive. I mean, there's so many things you can do. It's how you play in the formations you have. And I think with Conte's methods, it's just a bit too pragmatic, because here's the thing. This wasn't a full-strength Arsenal team. Ozil wasn't playing. Sanchez wasn't playing. And look at that back line. Koulibaly wasn't there, and a few of them. Other than Hazard, this is a full-strength Chelsea team. We shouldn't be struggling against a team like Arsenal. And this is what really worries me. And this is what I don't like. I know a lot of people have been, not brainwashed, but, we seem to adopt this mentality where, maybe it's because of Mourinho, where we think, actually, it's good to defend and keep your shape and, counter-attack because it's intelligent and smart. No, it's not. Especially these days in football, how teams counter that? They attack even more and push more men forward. So it becomes even harder to defend against more men in your own half. And I really think this is a little bit of a dated way to play. And I don't think it's the most effective way at using the team. It's really, I don't know. And I'm just thinking, especially in the first half, the reason why Arsenal were looking better too is because they were pressing very aggressively out wide. So for example, let's say Williams on the ball, Moses is moving up. They were moving, 3 players were on them straight away, pressing aggressively, getting in them, winning the ball quick. On the other side, especially that first half, we weren't doing that. We were just sitting back, soaking up the pressure, trying to, slow the play down for Arsenal. And it doesn't help, because once you play it around a bit, there's space on the flanks, because for some reason, I don't know why the wing-backs are tucking inside to help out, because we're giving away free space on the flanks, and we were constantly getting exposed. How many times was Bellerin getting forward? Or Oxlade-Chamberlain? And then, playing passes across the goal. And, Arsenal really, in my opinion, I thought Arsenal were the better team because they created more chances. They had better chances. We didn't create much. And it's really frustrating. And I think it's how we adopt the system. Think about it like this. If Mitchie isn't the greatest at keeping the ball, holding the play and bringing people in, why do we have to play the system in a way where he has to do that? Why can't we just focus our offence down on the flanks, keep the ball there, and then play the balls in midfields, and then, just let Mitchie focus on making space in the box and getting on the end of stuff. Mitchie getting on the end of attacks and getting on the end of, passes, he'll look much better compared to having to be a guy involved in the build-up of the play, because he just can't do it at the moment, and I don't think he ever can. He's just not that type of player. And it's too often, games like this, they become a struggle. Anytime you play any top 6 team, it becomes a struggle because the way we play is just a bit too negative. And people might be thinking, oh, you know, you're worrying, you know, how can you know more than Conte? You're just some guy on YouTube, you know, blah, blah, blah. But the reason why I'm saying this is because we've got Champions League football. You know, when the league next season, our rivals have strengthened. Plus, they know how to play against us. And I haven't seen any tactical evolution in terms of how we play. And that's the biggest thing. People might think, oh, you have to spend 50 million on this and that. No, you don't have to. That helps. But the main thing is the tactical evolution, getting the players playing better or adopting the approach. That's what should be happening. I'm not seeing that. But at the same time, Bakayoko, Morata hasn't started and Rudiger isn't playing. So I can't fully assess what Conte's plans are going to be. In my opinion, I don't see it changing to what he's doing now. But I'll give him a chance. Maybe potentially he's got other plans for how he wants the team to play. But I'm going to talk about Morata, which I nearly forgot. Morata, honestly, I like his hold-up play. The minute he came on, he was winning every single ball in the air and we were keeping the ball. And that was a very positive thing. And it was really annoying that we just couldn't see him start from the second half. Like, here's the thing. Yeah, he might not be fully fit, but he's not that, you know, unfit where he can't play 45 minutes. I'm not having that. I don't believe that. Mitchell did nothing. You know, I think sometimes Conte lets his players on the pitch for too long than they have to. I think if Morata was starting, we would have looked even better because he was keeping the ball. He was winning balls in the air. Every single ball against Holding, I think he was winning. And he was looking good. Of course, the penalty shootout. I'm actually going to touch on the penalty shootout later. I can't even... There's too much stupidity happening so quickly. My God. But I was liking what I was seeing of Morata, and I'm hoping to see more. And he has to start the game against Burnley. I bet Conte's going to do this thing where Morata's not fully matched up to his requirements, so Mitchell's going to start again. I mean, you know, thank God it's Burnley at home, but at the same time, I think Morata is just going to make a big difference. Pedro too, that red card. If anything, if you get a red card in a Community Shield, does that, if someone reminds me in the chat, does that mean that, you know, you get banned or suspended in the league? Or is it because the Community Shield counts as like a friendly, nothing pushes to the league? Because he got a straight red card, so, you know, I'd need to know, you know, if that means that Musunda might be playing from the start, because it was quite unlucky, because I really think that maybe Boga would have got 10 minutes to if Persia never got sent off. So that was quite frustrating. But the fact that Conte played Musunda over Boga, even though Boga's played every pre-season game, it tells us that you know, Conte prefers Musunda at this moment in time. Oh, okay. Oh, thanks you guys. So he is available. Okay, so Pedro can play against Burnley. Okay, cool. Thanks you guys. But okay, fair enough. So he can play. But at the same time, you know, if the manager was fair with how he uses the squads, should William really be starting against Burnley when he's been poor in the last two pre-season games and in this game? I mean, really, if it's all about, you know, performing well in training, performing to a high standard, should he really be starting the game against Burnley? I don't think so, but will he? Of course he will, because Conte just prefers experience over, you know, who's in form. But still, I really think, you know, this record that Conte has in finals is not a coincidence. It's not down to being unlucky. I'm not gonna lie. I'm one of these geeks that I like to speak to a lot of football fans. For example, I was on the Juventus Reddit page. I mean, if you guys went there, you'll probably see my post that I wrote. But I asked some of the fans, you know, who do you prefer, Conte or Allegri? If Conte was to come back tomorrow, would you prefer him over Allegri? And all of them said no, we want Allegri. Why? Because he's taken the team to a different level. And the one main thing, the main positive all the Juventus fans told me was that Allegri is tactically flexible and Conte isn't. They all said Conte has this habit of only making substitutions in the 80th minute. And, you know, if teams are doing well against him, he doesn't make any substitutions to change the course of the game, and he doesn't change his tactical plan during the game. And I have to say they're right, because this is the thing that scares me a little bit for the Champions League too. You know, Conte he has a habit sometimes of being tactically beaten by the opposition manager, and what do I mean by that? Well, you know, he never makes the first, if things aren't going right, he never makes the first change to, you know, push things to our advantage. He's always reacting. And it seems to be this thing of every 70th minute is when substitutions come, regardless of anything, regardless if players are playing well or not. Because I'm sorry, if this was Mourinho and he saw Mitchell playing like this, Mitchell would have come off. He wouldn't have come on in the second half. And sometimes players need that kick up the backside because he can't be performing like that, because too often Mitchley's losing the ball and giving cheap counter-attacks to teams. And it's not right. And it's getting quite frustrating now. And I think Mitchley needs bench time, or he needs to start proving himself again why he should be in the team. But if anything, I'm excited with what's going to happen with Morata. Still, that penalty shootout. Jesus. Courtois taking a penalty? Really? I'm like, the minute I saw that, I was thinking in my head, Jesus Christ. So you're telling me everyone's got a little bit gassed because Courtois has been banging in the penalties during pre-season. Now he thinks it's Manuel Neuer all of a sudden. Like, oh my God. You just, you know, when you just sense that a player is going to miss a penalty straight away, you just know it's going to happen. It was obvious. It was completely obvious that was going to happen. And then Morata, that was a really poor penalty. He missed the target. But like I said, Morata is a confidence player. When he's on form, he bangs in goals from the tightest of angles. If he's off form a bit, you know, he can miss the easiest of chances. Again, you know, I'm not going to be hard on him because he hasn't been a number one, so he hasn't been able to get past that mentality. But playing consistently for Chelsea, where you've got a manager that will play you even if you're playing badly, it's probably going to help him get over that. So he's got that advantage, you know, happening for him. Still, the penalty shootout was quite interesting. I'm still not quite too sure how I feel about the new format. Obviously, you know, teams taking you know, like 2 each before the other one. I don't know, I'd have to see it happen a few more times, but I was thinking, but maybe I'm saying that because we lost the shootout, doesn't it give an advantage to the opposition team? Because let's say, for example, Courtois missed. Now that means when Morata's taking the penalty, there's even more pressure on him because he knows, oh, now I need to score this because he's just missed it. Now beforehand, let's say Courtois missed and an Arsenal player took a penalty, that kind of reduces the mental burden because that Arsenal player, there's pressure on him thinking, well, you know, I need to score this, or, you know, otherwise we're not getting the advantage in the shootout. And I think having it like this, it kind of seals the fate of teams much quicker than it used to be. At least, you know, there was more room for chance coming in. You know what I mean? Like, for example, that in Moscow when, you know, John Terry slipped. In this format, I don't think a moment like that would happen. But I think then on, if you're a United fan, that's what you're praying to happen, and it does. But yeah, I'm not quite too sure how I feel about the, you know, the ABBA format. I mean, I understand why they're saying they want to implement it because, you know, I think when they were doing the analytics, they were saying that most teams who start first have like a 5% chance of winning the shootout. And I guess it's fair to try and even the odds completely. And of course, again, I'm not saying I disagree with it. I'm just trying to think in my head, but I have to see it happen more often, and I'm sure maybe, you know, I'll have different opinions as I see it. But yeah, I was saying too in tweets earlier, if Conte lost this game today, he can blame it on the board or getting the players he wants. I think that is a bit harsh because here's the thing. When we got Rudiger, that happened instantly. Morata, it's not our fault Madrid are playing hardball because, you know, they're trying to get as much money as they can so they can start their transfer assault for Mbappe. And, you know, with Bakayoko, well, you know, he had the knee injury. The club wanted to make sure that he can pass his medical and he is going to be worth signing, because if he's not, we'll have to look at other targets. So, you know, I know it took long to happen, but I don't think it's fair to think that the board didn't do their job, because they spent 60 million on Morata. You know, they spent 35 million and 40 million on Rudiger and Bakayoko. So already that's more than 100 and something million on 3 players. So I think they're happy to spend the money on Sandro, like I said in my previous video. And, you know, you guys should definitely watch that Transfer Daily video if you haven't seen it. And basically in the video, Sandro wants to come, but he ain't going to come unless Juventus get a replacement. So as Chelsea fans, we need to pray that Juventus get a replacement, because then they're more likely to sell Alex Sandro and he'll come. Because here's the thing, if he was going to stay, he would have signed the contract a long time before. He doesn't want to stay. But again, Juventus will keep him because they're an Italian club. You know, if you say you want to go, they'll tell you to fuck off, you're going to stay until a club meets our demands or we get what we want. So again, we just need to pray. I hope Cancelo, that move goes through from Valencia to him. And I hope maybe they get that Spinazzola or Dalbert or some other left back. And then they'll be more comfortable to selling him, because I think we really do need him. I think, you know, his attacking agency, ability on the ball. But at the same time, I'm thinking, actually, no, this will be perfect, because again, the whole reason why I'm raving about Alex Sandro, and I've raved about him since last year and before that, is because it's going to free up Eden Hazard. And our only chance of winning the Premier League is getting Eden Hazard on form, because he is the best player in the league He's one of the top 5 players in the world. He makes a difference. And with having Alexandro as a left wing back, Hazard's going to have the freedom where he's going to be closer to the goal. And we know Hazard is very clinical. The issue with him is that he doesn't shoot enough. But if he's forced to be playing closer to the goal more often, plus he's got Morata, who's better at link-up play, better at those quick 1-2s, and is very intelligent with his movement, that means to me that Hazard can get more goals and he can be more effective. And hopefully he can break this 20-goal barrier, which he should be doing now. And I think it can happen. And if that's the case, then we're favourites to win the league, in my opinion. But still, it's all going to come down to Alexandro. And I'm hoping with his signature, maybe Conte is going to adapt this approach of just being too pragmatic and defensive, because the style of football isn't the best. But at the same time, Morata is keeping the ball better. So maybe having better players more suited to the way Conte likes his teams to build up is going to be more beneficial to the team. But this is the annoying thing, because in pre-season we should be seeing this, but because these deals took so long, even though it's not the club's fault, you know, Conte hasn't really been able to instill what he really wants to do. So I mean, I won't be able to get a clear idea until, you know, the end of August, or, you know, around September, to really get an understanding of what's happening. But, you know, I don't know. Very disappointing to lose to Arsenal in the manner we did. Like I said, I thought Arsenal were the better team. And, you know, this approach where we're playing nearly a second strength Arsenal team and they're outplaying us, it's not because the players are shit. As I keep saying, it's the manager's approach. It's got to improve. It's got to change. It's got to adapt. We can't be this easy, because, again, there's going to be harder teams to play next season, especially when they know how to play against us. And hopefully, you know, Conte is going to break this hoodoo of performing awfully in knockout tournaments. And like I said, there's a reason why, because if you look at every time his teams have gone out, it's been because of shit, negative football. And they can't come out and they can't counter-attack, they can't play out, they get pressed in too easily. He's been a manager for a long time now. Surely he should be working on this to improve. But, you know, only time will tell, really. But anyway, you guys, I'm going to end the match review here. A bit of a long one, you know, had a lot of things to say. Really not too happy about what happened in this game today. But of course, before I end, I've got to do the shout-outs. Of course, shout-out to Conte Tweets. In the description below, follow his YouTube channel, Worldwide Chelsea. I'm going to be collaborating on there quite a bit to help him grow. You know, we'll be doing live stream formats and sub call-ins, so definitely tune in for that. Of course, if you want to support me, and again, thank you to everyone that encouraged me, and thank you to the people that have, you know, subscribed to me on Patreon. It means a lot. It's fantastic. I can't even believe that people even want to give me money for the stuff I do. You know, it's amazing. If anyone else feels they want to support, you know, that would be amazing too. It will help boost the production, because I got a lot of big plans for this year, for the 3rd year, for the 4th year, for the 5th year. I mean, if anyone ever wanted to hear them, I'd tell you. But this channel is going to be even bigger than what it is completely. Again, you know, follow the Snapchat. I'm going to find a new day for the Snapchat Q&As. You know, Friday isn't the best time. Maybe I'll have to experiment, maybe like a Monday or a slow day or a Wednesday or something like that. I need to find something, but definitely add the Snapchat, send in your video messages, and I'll pick the best ones like I normally do. Anyway, you guys, thank you for watching the match review today. Of course, there'll be a lot more videos planned for next week. There'll be the match preview for Burnley and the match review for Burnley happening next week. The season's going to kick off. I'm sorry I can't bring up the match vlog because my fucking camera's battery died. Even though I charged the thing the whole night and it was on full battery, the thing died. Very frustrating. I'm going to make sure I don't make any stupid schoolboy errors like that. So I'll have to match vlog the first one for the start of next season. Anyway, you guys, thanks for watching the live stream. I'm NiiNiiFC. This is Blue Lines TV. Signing out.